Topic 8, Lesson 2 notes, setting and solving proportions and graphs. All right, so the first half of this paper is really just review over proportions of what you worked on in Lesson 1. So remember that a proportion is a comparison of two ratios that are equal. So for example, 4 to 6 equals 16 to 24 here. This is a proportional relationship. Now remember, there are times where we are missing a term in the proportion, and we can solve to find it. So let's try this problem together. So we got two different methods we can go with. We can go with the pattern, or we can go with cross products. Now, this one is not a super difficult one to recognize a pattern. Off the top of my head, I don't know 5 times what is 7. So I'm going to look at a horizontal pattern. Okay, how do I get from 5 to x over here? Well, again, I don't know what number to multiply by. But on the bottom here, I do know that 7 times 8 is 56. Like we talked in lesson 1, remember, whatever you do on the bottom, you have to do on the top. They have to be the same as each other. Okay, so I multiplied by 8 on the bottom. I have to multiply by 8 on the top. 5 times 8, I know, equals 40. So in this situation, x would equal 40. Now we can check that again using a different method called cross products. This is where we multiply our diagonals. Remember, it doesn't matter which diagonal you start with. My preference is always to put x on the left side, just because then we see x equals and then our number versus our number equals x. Okay, so here I focus on my x diagonal, which is 7 and x. So remember that represents 7 times x equals, and then my other diagonal, which is 5 times 56. Well, I know that 7 times x is just 7x equals 5 times 56. I do not know that off the top of my head, so a little bit of work. 6 times 5 is 30. That's 28, so I know that that equals 280. From here, I've got a one-step equation. 7x equals 280. Divide both sides by 7 because it's multiplying. 7 divided by 7 is 1, leaving me with just a single x down here. Equals 280 divided by 7. I know that 28 divided by 7 is 4, and then I have my 0, so I know that it's 40. Notice how we get the same answer either method we use. So either way you do it, you're still going to get that same answer. So you pick the method you like and you stick with it. Now, when you try these ones on your own, notice a lot more difficult to recognize a pattern here than it is to just go through and do the cross products. So try these on your own. When you check, I will have used the cross products method. And that's what I would recommend here. And I don't know anyone personally who would be able to look at these and recognize what the pattern is off the top of their head. So take a moment, try these out on your own. All right, so again, just notice, a lot easier to do when you use the cross products than trying to find a pattern there. Now, when it comes to this, we are looking at, do you know how to solve a proportion? Do you know how to do cross products? What to multiply, what to divide? As long as you can show us those steps, these parts here, I know that I'm multiplying 6.7 times 28.22. I am perfectly comfortable with you using a calculator to do that part of the math. At this point, I'm not checking to see, do you know how to multiply decimals? I'm asking, do you know how to solve a proportion? So same thing down here, this 189.074 divided by 3.4. Right now, I don't need to see your long division for this. Just go use it in a calculator. Show me what you dividing so that I know you're putting the right thing into the calculator. The biggest thing, you just have to be very careful when typing it into the calculator. That way, the answer it gives you is the correct answer you're looking for. Because remember, the calculator always gives you a correct answer only if you ask it the correct question. It'll give you a right answer. It may just not be to the question you're asking. Okay, so take your time, go slowly when typing it in the calculator. Make sure that you type the correct thing in so it gives you the correct answer that you are looking for. All right, if you have questions, make sure you check in. And if you need help on that part. Now, take a moment, flip your paper over, and let's take a look at the graphs. The graphs are probably the easiest thing to do with proportions at all. To state whether a graph is proportional or non-proportional is super duper easy. It's got to meet two criteria. If it meets both criteria, it is proportional. If it does not meet both or even just one of them, it is non-proportional. So I ask myself, is the graph a straight line? If yes, then it could be proportional. If no, it immediately cannot. If that graph is not a straight line, it is immediately non-proportional. So remember, that is one of the most important things to remember. If it is straight, it could be proportional because it still has to meet the second criteria. The second criteria is, does the graph go through the origin, that point 0, 0? If yes, then it could be proportional. If no, it is not proportional. So remember, if either one of those criteria are not met, it is immediately non-proportional. It cannot be proportional. To be proportional, it has to be a yes to both questions. Okay, so we're going to state whether these graphs are proportional or not. I'm going to do the top 4, and then you're going to do the bottom 4 on your own. So right away, I ask myself the 2 questions. On this first graph, is the graph a straight line? I immediately see that it's not. It's got this weird curve going on right in the middle of it. It is not straight, so I know right away it is non-proportional. Right away, no doubt. I don't even have to ask myself the second question, because if the first one's a no, it's a no. Okay, so we know this one is not straight. Now, I can ask, does it go through the origin? Remember that 0, 0 point right in the middle there? It does go through that. So, yes, goes through origin. Goes through origin. But I know that it is not proportional because it is not a straight line. You'll see when you get into the practice and the exit ticket on the Google form, you'll see that it asks you if it is or is not proportional, if it is or is not straight, and if it does or does not go through the origin. Remember, you got to make sure you click all those answers. So on the second one here, I ask, is it straight? It is. It is a straight line. So I can say it is straight. And then I ask myself, does it go through the origin? That point 0, 0 on this graph happens to be right here, down in the bottom left corner of it, and it looks like it goes right through that. So yes, it goes through the origin. I said yes to both questions, so we know this is a proportional relationship. Goes through the origin. So this is proportional. Oop, oh, sorry about that. Weird button on my pen. So this is a proportional one. Again, it's got to be a yes to both questions. All right, so on the next one here, is it straight? It is straight. It is a straight line going sideways. Okay, so when I ask, does it go through the origin? No. So I'm going to say no, not through origin, because our origin is all the way down here in the corner. Notice that line will never go through that origin there. So it's a no to the second question, which means it is non-proportional. Non-proportional. I can spell. All right, and then this last one, again, I ask, is it straight? It is straight. It is a straight line going right up and down. Does it go through that origin? That origin's down here in the bottom left corner. It is not. Now, be careful. The origin is not always in the bottom left corner. For example, in that first one, it was dead center. So just pay close attention to where 0, 0. So no, not through origin. I said no to question number 2. It is non-proportional. Okay, so the graphs are usually pretty easy to tell whether they are or are not proportional at a quick glance. So take a moment, try out the next 4 on your own, and then check back in to see how it is. I want you to write down, is it straight or not? Does it go through the origin or not? And then if it is or is not proportional, because those are the questions that you're going to be asked. All right, go ahead and check your answers here. Make sure you got them and you understand what you're doing. If you have questions, make sure you ask.